You're trying to confuse me. But do you know what I mean?
I'm not trying to confuse you at all.
But do you understand where I'm coming from?
I'm trying to understand where you're coming from.
So you don't?
I think you have a line of reasoning that you can't describe. Which means that you're not quite sure about why you feel the way you do.
I just feel like if this is going to sound bad. There's different types of people who watch a film that's got sex in it compared to people that watch porn. You're attracting the different types of people.
Can the same person watch both?
100%, but...
So what does that mean?
I don't know how to just explain it, but like, when I think of porn, and I think of people watching it, obviously this is a stereotype, I think of old fucking ugly, horny men watching it.
Welcome to Unattainable, soon to be the #1 podcast show in the U.S. Glad to have you with us and hope you continue to be a part of our family for the foreseeable future. And if so, please hit that subscribe button. What's up?
Not much. What about you?
Going? Good.
Everything's
All right,
going
introduce
well.
yourself.
Hi,
Alessia.
everyone. My name's Alessia. I'm 20 years old from London. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
You've been in LA 4 years, you said.
4 years.
Nice. How's it been so far?
It's been different. It's been very up and down. I think it's because I moved here when I was around 17. So it was a very weird age for me to move to a different country, especially the United States and especially LA. But it's been good. Graduated from acting school. And yeah, everything's been okay. It's just been a bit different, especially with the COVID going on.
How come? Like, what's been different about...
Culturally very different.
In what way?
People are different. People are different. The system is different. Food is different. People drive on the other side of the road different. Lots of different things.
Okay, so culture... So define different for me.
Different. Very different. Bad different.
Bad different.
Bad different.
Okay. So
I just think it's because growing up in Europe, I was exposed to different things in terms of like that people are more like culturally more like savvy. Does that make sense? They're more like, I don't know how to describe it, but like people out here are very different in terms of like they approach things differently. The way they talk is different. The way they have no concept of food. Like there's just different things.
What's your concept of food?
I'm saying like the concept of food here, they just throw on like the portions out here are insane. They give you like portions for 4 people.
Right.
It's just different. It's just different. I'm not going to say I hate it. I'm not going to say I love it. It's just different.
Well, you said different in a bad way, so I suppose that would be
Well, it's
not
different in
liking
a bad way in terms of the people that I've come across are very strange. There's a lot of greed out here and a lot of like me, which I haven't been used to when I'm being back home, if that makes sense.
It does. So my question is, have you lived in LA the 4 years?
Yes.
Okay.
But I've been to New York. I think New York is the only place I've been to outside of, only place in America, US and Cali. The only 2 places I've been to in the US.
Okay, so LA and New York, and both of those places you
I love New York.
had the same, so not the same experience.
New York
as
is
LA.
different. That's because I think there's lots of British people in New York.
Do you tend to...
There's more of a European vibe, I feel like.
Interesting.
What are you thinking?
Well, I'm wondering if, because the things that you're describing, that sort of selfishness, right, is in the industry.
100%. And it's
here.
everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is I think, okay, so let me ask you a couple questions before I get to my point.
Go on.
Because I think it'll create more of a narrative. When you moved here, what did you start doing? Like, what was your aspirations? What did you want to do?
So I'm an actor.
Oh, okay.
So I the minute I came here, I went to acting school out here. The American Academy of Dramatic Arts. It's just on La Brea.
Right.
Yeah.
So So you started going there when you were 17?
Yes.
And then are you still there?
No, I graduated about a year ago, less than a year ago.
Okay. And I'm assuming during the time that you were in school, you were also doing projects, working.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it was
Shooting.
that was another thing that was very different. Schooling out here compared to back home. I think it's because I went to like a private school in London and it was very strict and everything. And then coming here was an acting school. So I was in classes with like 30-year-olds, 24-year-olds, and I was like 17. So it was, and then moving to a different country. So it was hard for me to just, I don't know, adapt to that. It was different.
To adapt to being around a bunch of older people.
And to adapt to people that are not from where I'm from. There was lots of British people there, but not as many as I was like used to. So being around different people from all over the world. There's people from Germany, people from different states of the United States, like everywhere. It was just hard for me. It's very different. Yeah, it was hard for me to like move everything that I was used to at a young age to a different country and see different things and have to try new things. And do you know what I mean?
I mean, I know exactly what you mean.
Good.
Because when I moved here, I was like 17. I was almost 18.
Yeah.
So I understand your perspective, although I think it might be a little different because, well, in two ways, I suppose. One is you don't have any other family here aside.
I have my parents here.
Aside from your parents, you don't have any other family. Okay.
And I didn't have any friends coming into the US. Like I didn't know anyone out here.
Right.
So
Which
that
could
was
make
different.
it
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
I feel like you use the word different for a lot of things that would be considered using the word difficult might.
Difficult's better.
Well, I'm not suggesting if it's better or not. I'm just wondering if that would.
Yeah.
That would make it better described.
There we go.
Would it?
Yeah, I guess it would.
Okay.
Difficult. Yeah, we can stick with that.
I get the concept of having a hard time with the industry here in LA, especially because, well, there are two things. One is the entertainment industry in general contains a lot of rejection, right?
Which you have to be used to.
Yeah, which automatically makes it harder.
Yeah.
Secondly, not knowing anyone and then getting rejected could make it even more difficult, right? And then comes the third factor, which is the cutthroatness of the business industry.
Everyone looks like everybody type thing. There's so many people
Everybody
my
cares
age.
about themselves
100%.
because they want to get to that
100%.
level. And if their dream is like, I want to do this and this is all I wanted in my life, I don't care who I step on.
No, it's true.
You know?
I think I see that more now, me being, because when I was living in London, I was younger, so I didn't really see that. And then moving over here at an age where I started to realize things is when I started to see that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. How does that make you feel?
About
the industry you're in?
It's hard. It's hard. It's cutthroat, as you said. But it's worth it.
Is it?
I think it is.
Interesting.
You don't think it's worth it?
I think that's an answer for every person to
Themselves.
give. Themselves, because then some things you have passions about, some things you don't. That's what music is for me. For example, because in music, I hate social media. I hate everything that social media represents. I find it extremely shallow, waste of a time. Just anything that could be a negative aspect of social media is what I think about it.
Okay.
But it's also an outlet, right? It's a tool that.
Got the water all over me.
You're fine. You look fine.
Sorry, everyone.
Do you want to?
No, I'm good.
But it's a tool that we use now in order to get from one point to the other, right? But then it takes away, like, for example, for me, as far as music is concerned, I love performing, right? and I love making music, and I love putting it out there. But then I find myself feel distasteful once I put it on social media, because then at that point it goes from me being passionate about something to now
people's opinions.
Not only people's opinions, how many likes am I getting? Are people liking it? So I'm like friends with these people who are no longer like don't seem like care about my content. Like, do they care about me? So then why don't they like my stuff? You know, I start thinking about these things that,
is it good enough?
Is it good enough?
Is the other song better because it got more likes?
Am I good enough?
Interesting.
You know? And it doesn't even, and I'm a very confident person. And so for me to feel like that, it starts to...
But that's what it does. Yeah.
Exactly. It starts to make me question, like, if I feel like that and I find myself extremely confident...
How does it make people that
are not, you know?
Yeah.
And so...
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it also takes away the passion from the things that we love to do.
Yeah.
You know? And it's easy to say, okay, well, think about just put out the project, you know, put out the content, because that's what I do now. I just put out stuff and I'm like, I'm not going to care like what's going to happen.
I like that.
It's easy to say it, but then the back of your mind, like even I try now, like I close the app and I'm like, I'm not going to check it. I'm not going to
after you've posted
go on there. Yeah. I'm not going to go on there. I'm not going to check the likes, you know, I'm not going to check the comments.
But
like,
you do.
Every once in a while, I'm like, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna go see what's going on. Like,
I know it's hard to say that you shouldn't care what people think, but at the end of the day, people do.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And that's why social media is, I mean, that's why some people like it, so some people don't. There's just ups and downs with the social media.
Yeah.
Because I like the idea of being able to promote what I want to do and what I do through social media. But the backlash of all the criticism, all of that, it comes with it. But it's also at the back of your head, like, am I good enough? All of this.
Yeah. The self-doubt part of it, I think, is the most destructive. Because for someone who has been working on music for such a long time.
How long?
Since I started when I was 7.
Wow. Yeah.
So 15 years now. And 15 years, 25 years.
Trying to make him seem younger, guys. Like, he's trying to make him seem younger.
That's funny.
You're trying to make yourself.
I can't believe that I don't even know why I thought that.
I was calculating that as well. I was like, okay.
I was thinking to myself, I was like, it hasn't been that for a second.
Because I was going back to our convo at the beginning, and you're like, that you're getting old. Right. And then I'm thinking, wait, God.
No, I'm 32. So, which is crazy, because I was thinking to myself, has it been that? I did the math in my head, and I'm like, okay, it is 25 years, but then I'm like, it hasn't been that long. Hasn't been that, like, time goes by so fast. It's kind of crazy.
Because at the end of the day, like, you're going to get criticism with anything you do. So what are you going to do? Not post it? Not put it out there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And still to this day, big stars, big artists, they still get criticized.
Right.
Lots of people don't like them. Some people do. It's all based on opinion.
Yeah. And when you look at these documentaries that have come out lately, and it was before that as well, but a bunch of them, like Ariana Grande, Shawn Mendes, Justin Bieber, like these are like big artists, right? And from the outside, the people who look at them are admiring them. You know, they have a ton of fans. Everybody wants to be them. You know, but then the crazy part of it is that they don't want to be them.
The pressures of being them.
They don't want to be themselves.
No, it's sad.
It's crazy.
Have you seen? Have you heard Justin Bieber's song "Lonely"?
I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, that really hit me.
Yeah.
I don't know, something about it.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard.
And I think Justin is like a very good example of what the industry does to
becoming
does to
famous
someone,
at like how old? 14, 15?
Yeah. You know, he was very young, and then he got thrown into all of this stuff. And the worst part of it is that most people who criticize everybody else are not perfect in any way, shape, or form.
But no one's perfect.
And so to expect other people to be perfect is absolutely absurd to me.
But they don't see them as people. Some people don't see Justin Bieber as a person.
Right.
They see him as this thing that needs to be perfect because he's out in the public eye. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in reality, he's a human being.
Yeah.
He's just like us.
Yeah.
Just different path. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that that's another thing that social media has done is like allowed people to come out of their shell and say whatever they want in disguise. You know, behind the curtain. You know, people
they hide from it. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody makes a profile, it's not their name, it's not their picture. You don't know who it is. You don't know where they live. You don't know what they do.
That's true.
And they say whatever they want. But if that same person was standing right in front of you...
Oh, no, they wouldn't say anything.
Will never say a word.
Never. They're cowards.
Yeah. It's crazy.
No, it is.
It's absolutely crazy.
I remember when I was growing up in school, I'm not going to mention names, but I went to an all-girls private school in South Kensington, so a nice bougie area in London, and I was doing really well with my acting, and I was thinking of moving over here, and I auditioned for this school that I got into, and there was this group of girls, and they made a fake Instagram profile of me, and they would just post pictures of me and all these negative things, and I never knew who they were until I found out. And when I found out, I was thinking, what did you gain from that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What could you possibly gain? Like, why is my life important to you? Why do you feel the need to have to create an account of me, post pictures of me, follow my life? Just tell me to my face that, you know, you don't like me, but you technically do like me if you're posting pictures of me. You find some interest in my life, you know?
Why do you think they did that? Why do you think people do? I mean, people do that all the time.
They wanted a reaction out of it. Because they obviously knew me, and they were a year above me as well. So it wasn't like younger girls just trying to joke around. I think it was insecurities on their part. And if I go on their profiles, they have no pictures of themselves. So I'm thinking, clearly insecure, clearly bored with their lives, wanting to do something. And they picked on me, who was doing well. And they thought, because I'm a confident person. And at school, I was a confident person. If I wanted to post a picture of me in a bikini or whatever, I'd do it. And I wouldn't care. And I think that was the difference. I don't think they felt comfortable in doing that themselves.
Lack of confidence.
Yeah. And they wanted to bully someone who had confidence because they didn't have confidence. And they thought, let me try and knock her confidence down. That'll make me feel a bit better. Maybe I'll gain confidence from it.
Or maybe subconsciously they wanted to be you, but they didn't want to admit that to themselves.
Maybe.
And so the best thing to do was to suppress that part of themselves.
Maybe.
And so the solution was to make you the villain.
Yeah.
So then that way...
But they had a more perfect life than me in terms of like financially and all of that. You know what I mean? They lived a comfortable life.
Well, for some people, that's not good enough.
But then I realized, you know, growing up, their parents were never around. They were all full of nannies. And I think that also was a part of it. Their childhood wasn't really a childhood. You know, and I came from like a loving family, working class family. But my childhood was amazing. You know, spending with my cousins, doing all these things, which I don't think they had. If I'm going like deeper into it.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah.
That's interesting. That's always very interesting to me.
Really? Why is that?
Because I think that I will always find myself fascinated with trying to understand people who act out. I think it's easy to... So growth comes from a place of understanding. Until you have self-awareness, you're not going to grow. So self-awareness is number one. And then you have to get into understanding other people. it's easy to get angry at someone. A good example of it is somebody comes and honks at you, right? The immediate response is to honk back.
Yeah.
Somebody comes and yells at you, the immediate response is to yell back. The hardest part of it is, yeah, exactly. Somebody throws a punch, the easiest thing to throw another punch, right?
Instead of being like, no, I'm the bigger person.
Taking a step back and going,
I'm not going to participate.
Why is, not just I'm not going to participate, but why is this person doing what they're doing? And how can I help them? Instead of saying, how can I be defensive?
And most of it's insecurities. And that can also, especially in my generation, that can stem from social media. I see so many girls on social media. I was talking to my friend about it the other day, and we were on Instagram, and we saw this girl. She was like, how old do you think she is? I was thinking, big boobs, makeup, all of this. 20, 21, 15.
No.
And I was thinking, if that's what our generation looks like at 15, what's our kid, like my kid's generation, going to look like? Are they going to like have phones when they're like 3?
Right.
Because I look at my cousin, and he's so savvy on social, like on technology, with technology. He knows how to use the iPad. You know what I mean? He's already swearing at his mum, and he's like 10. So it's just crazy how everything seems to be going so fast. Social media just takes that youth away from you, I feel like. It can if you let it. It can do anything to you if you let it, to be honest.
But do we have a choice is the question. Because here's the problem, though. If you let it is a luxury. Because you have to understand that to begin with. If you don't see something coming, then how can you stop it from coming? Do you see what I mean?
That's true.
So
it's all about the trend.
The Gen X is like a very good example of this. A lot of anxiety, a lot of lack of self-confidence, a lot of comparisons, a lot of drug and alcohol abuse, right? A lot of trying to fit in. I think that's really the best way to describe it, is like trying to fit in.
Trying to be popular, trying to feel like people matter and care about you.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that like feeling like you matter and people care about you is what social media is essentially advertising. Right?
Post this picture, get these likes.
Yeah.
People will care.
TikTok is like a big thing for that right now.
Yeah, it is.
Like the algorithm that everybody talks about, right? Why does that matter so much?
It's crazy.
You know, because you want to be liked, because you want to be viewed, because you want to be the next thing.
But look at the other platform out there right now, OnlyFans.
Right.
What's that supposed to mean? What does that do? Do you know what I mean? I mean, now I'm strongly against it, but I'm not strongly against it. I just think at the end of the day, confidence, cool. You want to show your body like that? Do it. If you want to get paid for it, do it. I'm big on feminism, and I feel like promoting that to younger girls and stuff is not the way to go. I don't know.
Okay, that's going to bring us in a very good topic.
Because you're a man, right? You're a guy. So for you, I'm sure you like the idea of it. In terms of your access to seeing that type of thing is broadened. Does that make sense? I'm not saying you personally. I'm talking about men in general.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying. I'm not on OnlyFans. I don't have an account.
Is it for men as well?
Yeah.
It's only for women. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Shit.
I think, is it? I don't want to say the name. I think it's Tyga or some. I don't know who it is exactly.
Jeffree Star is on it, I think.
Well, no, it's like one of the rappers who has an account who's literally having sex with girls on like video.
But that's what I'm saying. What is that? What is that?
You're practically a porn star is what it is. You know, you're an adult film actor.
And that's another thing that I want to go back to. Being from London, I feel like out here, you guys you don't promote the right things. Like the Kardashians, cool, they're successful, they've done well done to them. But what is that supposed to promote? You guys applaud the wrong type of success, I feel like. Does that make sense?
Well, they became successful as a result of people
liking that.
And
I just feel like,
because imagine if their first episode or like the first season was a dump and like nobody wanted to watch it.
No, true.
They wouldn't have ever become successful.
No, it's true. But I also feel like the music industry's had a lot to say about social media and relationships and the way females act and the way men act.
Describe that.
The social, so music, like Chris Brown and all of these types of people.
You think their lyrics?
100%.
Okay.
100%. Calling girls bitches. Girls like to be called bitches now, apparently.
Do
you know what I mean?
There was a song. This is like months ago, and literally the girls are singing along with it, talking about the guy doing God knows what, and they're like singing along and like dancing. I was like, what is happening right now?
Because I feel like some people don't understand it. I've got, like look at my friends as cousins, for example, and stuff, and they're like 15-year-old girls and they love Chris Brown and they're singing along to all this stuff. And I think they don't understand it because they're still young. But it's kind of scary because I feel like some of them do actually understand what's going on and they still like and entertain it. People like Chris Brown and his music, cool. I like his music. I think that he's a good artist. But some of the words he uses, and I mean, at the end of the day, that's what sells. So good for him for doing what sells. But I just feel like it's definitely changed like the way females act and the way men act with the types of lyrics that get put out there.
That's true. I think for the most part.
I'm not blaming the rappers. I'm not saying it's their fault because it's the women that take accountability for some of it as well. They allow it to be a thing.
Right. I mean, there has to be some sort of
accountability,
a draw.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it goes back to the same thing, which is if people didn't feel that the information that's coming at them is attractive, right? They would respond to it negatively.
Yeah, and they wouldn't entertain it.
But the opposite is true. They do entertain it, so it becomes entertainment.
And it becomes popular.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's interesting. It's interesting you said that because are you suggesting that the British culture does not agree?
Oh no,
with that,
it does the same thing.
Okay.
I just feel like it's more promoted out here.
Well, there are
because artists out here are bigger. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So it's seen on a bigger.
The music
thing.
industry is the biggest
100%.
here than it is
100%.
anywhere else.
100%.
So.
But how do you feel about using words like that in your songs, or you don't? Do you refrain from certain words? Do you?
I don't sing anything that's sexual in that way or demeaning.
Okay.
Most of my music are like I describe it as like love songs.
Okay.
Like that's what I like things to be from the heart about like either positive things or personal things that have happened to you, right? I don't, but that's all. That also goes back to who I am as a person. I'm not
exactly.
I don't talk to women that way. I never have. Like I don't even raise my voice. Like any of my past relationships, you talk to any of my exes have never felt like I was aggressive towards them in any way. You know what I mean? So my personality just doesn't have that element.
Thing. It comes from personality as well,
right.
And how you grew up, and that's not a bad thing, but what you were around.
Yeah.
Who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
That can come from it.
Yeah, I mean, my parents, especially my mom, was very influential on how I was brought up.
I like that. Yeah.
And so, and I can't. I don't even listen to songs like that. Like I can't listen to it. It's not like one of the people who I really enjoy listening to is like Eminem.
I love Eminem. Eminem's Eminem.
His work is like and not only, and it's an intellectually more mature, but also the stuff that he sings are not just like they're not a marketing gimmick. It's personal to him.
Even the way he raps it.
Yeah.
The way he talks.
Yeah.
You can feel it.
Yeah. So I think there's like a difference between what the rap industry has become now. I there was a show I was watching the other day, and
what's it called?
American something. I can't remember.
Thanks for the help.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
I'll tell you the name of it later. And the show is about these high school kids, and who like play football and like American football.
Oh,
It's called American something. I can't remember.
The lead actor is British, I believe.
Is he? Black kid.
Yeah. American. It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix, but the new season came out.
Okay, yeah, American.
Tell me what it is. That's gonna
All American.
All American. Yes.
And he's British.
Oh, interesting.
The lead actor.
I didn't know that.
I haven't seen that. I've heard mixed reviews on that, to be fair.
I mean, I like the show.
Is it good, from your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I like shows. I have a. It's interesting. I have very like different types of shows that I like, but I like that show. I think mostly because it teaches me, like I'd like to see people and how they act and how they react and what makes them that way, and that kind of gives me that part of
what pisses them off, what angers them, what makes them happy, type thing.
And it's interesting because that show it's mostly like it goes towards trying to better the society in a way, like the main actor in it is constantly like trying to be the better person, the bigger person, you know what I mean? So that teaches that sort of mentality and
it's got a good message.
Yeah, exactly. Which is I think is a positive thing. But so one of the songs on the so the very first episode of the new season came out the other day, and so I was watching it, and there was a song that was featured on it, and I don't know who sings it, and so the first like I wouldn't say 30 seconds, but like the first like probably 15 to 20 seconds of the song is the guy literally going black, 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 black on black, like just like saying, repeating black like 20 times. And I'm like, how is that music? Like I just don't understand.
Yeah.
What music has become. And it's not just that song. It's just like you see a lot of rappers who just repeat the same song. There's like they repeat the same words. There's literally no creativity anymore.
I'm from London, so coming over here and listening to American rap, I don't understand a word.
Right.
I really don't. I don't understand any of it.
Yeah.
I don't. I really don't. I'll listen to a whole song and only understand the bits where the swear words are.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of the same way.
But that's why I listen to UK music.
Right.
There's an artist called Santan Dave. Well, Dave, his name is.
Okay.
And he came to LA, went to his concert, and it was really nice. And tickets were cheap because obviously no one really knows about him out here. But he's signed to OVO, Drake. So there's a TV show you should watch on Netflix called Top Boy. And it talks about the UK, England, and the street life and the gangs and how that they operate and families, how they get affected and all of that. It's a really good show. And it used to be on Netflix. Well, it's still on Netflix now, but it was put on Netflix. Then they took it off. And then Drake came and got involved because he loved that show. And I think he produced the third season. I'm not quite sure. But,
is that right?
It's a really good show. And he's in it, Dave. And he's such a good artist. And he has a song called Black. But his music is just so... That's what I feel like with UK artists or the artists that I listen to in the UK. It's all like factual and it's all about what, like all of from the heart. And it's passion and it's struggle and what they've been through. And here and like now and again, they'll swear and they'll use those words, which is okay when it's coming from the heart and it's meaningful, I feel like. I just love the music and he has some really amazing music. Like really strong, passionate music.
I'm going to listen to his
really
stuff.
good. And it's like... No, really good. He did like a freestyle on the LA Leakers. Is it the LA Leakers or something?
Lakers?
No, it's called the LA Leakers.
Oh, is that
on YouTube. Don't start dissing my basketball knowledge now. It's called
I thought you were trying to say LA Lakers.
It's called the LA Lakers on YouTube. The way you looked at me as well. You looked at me like I was a freak.
I literally was thinking to myself,
LA Lakers.
I was like, does this girl not know LA Lakers to how to pronounce LA Lakers? Like, what is happening right now?
No, it was the LA Lakers, and he did a freestyle, and it was like a freestyle, and I'm like, he did this on the spot. And it was about 12 minutes, and he just went crazy, and he was just talking about everything from why we, with what's going on with police brutality on black people, and how he was talking about that, and that was back then, and that was a few years ago, and how he had no money, and how he had to try and provide for his family, so he had to rob a house, and all of this stuff that he was talking about, and it was crazy. And he was just using words and references to other things, and he was just going on and on and on, and like every few minutes the beat would change, and it's still that passion. It was really amazing.
Interesting.
No, he's really, really relatable.
Yeah. The music industry has just really got off the rails.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's it's one of those things where I think I'm worried that as we try to become more evolved, we also contribute to lack of self-awareness. And so what ends up happening essentially is that the small portion of society becomes evolved, and the rest get left behind because of what we have created as entertainment, where then it sort of blocks off everybody else from becoming more evolved. Does that make sense?
100%. So the ones that actually are talented don't get the same as the ones that aren't, but the music is more entertaining.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah. And that's just in everything. Because we're spending our time on things that are purely entertainment.
But then I bring it back
based.
to relationships as well. I have some friends, and I'm not going to name names and talk about who they are, but I have conversations with them, and I'm like, so what's your type? And before it used to be, lawyers, people that actually like make money from good, doctors, well-established people. And now it's like rappers, basketball players, all of this. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but the way they approach things has changed. It's more about, let me go with the basketball player because he has money and then I won't have to work for it. Rather than let me make my own money and date someone who has their own money for the good and match up with them and become a power couple type thing,
Yeah.
It brings it back to that as well.
I mean, obviously, I'm assuming that's how you feel about it.
About what?
About relationships.
What about relationships?
Like that's what you want, is to be equally
100%. 100%.
Which kind of goes back to your thought process on OnlyFans as well.
Yeah. I grew up with a father who is, he has old-fashioned values, but he's a modern dad. So he's very modern when it comes to music and social media and technology, but he's very old-fashioned when it comes to responsibilities, like going to school, studying, getting an education, making your own money, dating men who are nice and kind and don't get involved in bad things, so those types of things. And maybe that's just a dad in general, but
it's crazy for a 20-year-old. You're 20, right? That's
yeah.
what you say. Yeah. For a
I'm very mature
20-year-old
for my
to
age.
call that old-fashioned, the crazy part of it is you're not the only person. Like people like that, what you just described has become old-fashioned.
Because I don't see it anymore.
It's crazy.
There is. I don't see it anymore. I don't see chivalry. I don't see any of it. And maybe that's just my generation, because I'm 20 and I feel like I'm very mature for my age. And the guys I speak to or the guys I've dated have always either been, if they've been older, they've been very immature. I've always felt like I'm the mature one.
How many guys have you dated? 3.
Okay.
Long-term relationships or short-term?
One was 3 years.
Okay.
And the other 2, the second one was like 8 and the last one was about 3. It didn't fucking last long. It was
3
recent.
months? And 8 months?
It was like 3 months, yeah.
Okay, 3 months.
It was a few months ago.
Okay. The 3 years one was the first one, I'm assuming?
Pardon?
The first one was 3 years?
3 years, yeah.
Okay.
But that's when I was young.
Right.
But it still counts.
Well, because it was 3 years, I would count it.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. 3 years was a long time.
Otherwise, I wouldn't count it. Because I told this girl one day, I said anything under, I think I said like 16 or 17. I was like, anything under 16 or 17 does not count. But 3 years is a while. So, assuming that both of you were actually considered being in a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, it was long distance. So he lived in Paris and I was living in London. Not long distance, but it was still,
Right.
long distance,
Right.
even though it wasn't that long.
Right.
2 hours on the train, but still.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I suppose it would be considered a long distance. Well,
Short distance relationship.
a bit of distance.
A bit of distance. But
Okay.
yeah.
So
I
that
just
was
feel
the
like
first
everything's quick now. We're so used to getting things quickly. If you want a relationship or you want a guy, Tinder, whatever, you want food, you got Uber Eats. You want to get to another place, you got Uber, what's it called, Uber and like Lyft. Everything's quick, and I feel like relationships go quick as well. Because I feel like what gets lost in relationships is people don't actually get to know the person. They just jump into things most of the time.
That happens
for my
a lot.
generation.
Yeah. Well, it's not just you. What are you, X? You're Gen X, right?
Yeah.
Or you're Gen X. So, yeah, I mean, both Gen X, Gen Z, and millennials are.
And I've even seen the guys different that I've dated from Europe to compared to here. Very different.
Worse here. But you're
very
also
much
in LA,
worse.
so it's.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm
yeah.
also in bloody West Hollywood, Beverly Hills area,
Right.
so that doesn't help either. Right in the middle of it all.
Okay, let's talk about the 8 months and the 3 months one.
Go on.
How long ago was the 8 months one? How long ago? So the 3 months one was the most recent one.
Yeah, that was about 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay, so the 8 months one was how long ago?
2 years ago.
Okay.
So I was fairly new to LA.
Okay. Met this guy in acting school.
No, met him through social media.
Social media.
Thank
What,
fuck.
Instagram?
Okay. He reached out to me. He was living somewhere else in the United States, but was moving back to LA.
Okay.
And we were speaking through like FaceTime calls, messages for about 4 or 5 months before we met.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And then what happened?
And then we met, and then we became official, and then it just went downhill from there.
What happened?
He was just I think the thing is with him, he was very insecure and very immature, and I don't think he had all his shit together. Like, he didn't have his shit together, which was hard because I felt like I was in a place where I did and he didn't. And so not that I cared, but I was constantly having to pay for everything. And not like I cared because I was like in a relationship with him, but then it got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm not your mum.
Well, it felt like it was taking advantage.
100%.
Anything else? Yeah, okay.
100%. And he didn't feel any type of way. He was like, can you pay for this?
Oh, he would like ask.
Oh,
you.
100%.
Oh, wow.
And there was no shame. There's no like, I feel really bad, but do you mind? There's just this one time.
It was like
Could
an
you do this?
expectation.
It was an expectation. And he would pay for things like now and again, but it didn't I'm not saying it didn't level up to the amount that I was giving. Does that make sense?
No, of course.
He would pay for dinner at McDonald's and I'd take him to a nice restaurant.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's bad because I knew in his situation he couldn't afford there was certain things that he struggled, like it was hard for him. So when he did buy me at McDonald's, it was like, oh, thank you, because I knew that was a lot for him. But then I was also looking at it and I was like, I don't think I should even be in this relationship.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Go on.
The
And I'm not saying that I wouldn't want to be in this relationship because he didn't have anything and I had more. I'm not saying that, but it was hard. It was hard.
Well, I want to talk about why. So there are two things I want to talk about. Number one is...
You're making me feel like an awful person now.
No. Not at all. Not at all.
Go on.
First of all, there has to be... There's no judgment on my end. So that you have to understand. I'm purely wondering...
I feel like I know what you're going to say, but go on.
Because I'm curious to... Because... And I'll get to my point, which is why I'm asking certain questions. Had he... One of the key things that you said was that you thought that he didn't have his shit together.
But he told me he did.
Okay. So you felt like you were lied to.
He acted like a whole different person when we hadn't met. He was like, I have this, I have that, I'm this, I'm doing this. I'm not saying that it's hard because I was attracted to the fact that he had his stuff together, but I was also attracted to him as a person, but I was also attracted, to the fact that he had his shit together. So when I found out he didn't, it's not that I was less attracted to him, but I just felt like, why lie? If you can lie about that, then what else can you lie about? You know, you can't start off a relationship with lies.
Sure.
Go on. Okay, the way you're looking at me. Go on, continue.
No, it brings up a couple of things for me.
Go on.
And I'll also get to that.
Because I'm also younger than you, so I'm sure you've had experiences around my age, similar or not. When you were 18.
I've never had a relationship end. Well, I had one relationship ended because that's a lot more complicated than what I was about to say, but that's the only relationship that she came to me and said, you made yourself look much more accomplished than you actually are.
Wow. How did that make you feel?
It made me feel like shit for multiple reasons. One of them was because I really cared about... Actually, her opinion was the only opinion I ever cared about. Like, there was not a single other person on this planet who I cared about their opinion more than I cared about hers. And I normally don't really give a fuck about anybody's opinion. And... But it was ironic considering that I find I'm fairly more accomplished than most people. So
I agree.
I don't. And I think so. I understand where you're coming from. I understand.
But he cheated on me. That makes it even worse. The fact that someone...
That's like a whole other problem.
But that's another thing. But that was part of it.
Right.
I was doing everything thinking that he was actually like a good guy, and then he ends up doing something behind my back.
Right.
But anyway, that's why it ended, obviously.
Right.
Clearly it wasn't a suitable match, but...
So, but what I'm wondering, let's put aside the cheating part, because that's why it ended, right?
Well, that's very late in the relationship, yeah.
Right. But by that point, you already knew
100%
that it had.
I had known
like
maybe
fading away
a month before that.
Right.
That it was the feelings I had were fading, and it felt like a chore to be with him.
What I'm wondering is that it's hard to really try to justify anything in this sort of relationship, considering the fact that he clearly was not the right choice for you. But so the reason why I sort of ask these questions is because I always wonder to myself, first of all, I think this culture of going from one relationship to another has become extremely popular.
In terms of like moving on quick,
ending relationships, right? I think there is no loyalty in any relationships anymore. But not only that, there is no desire to fight for one. And
but you can only fight for something if you both feel like it's worth fighting for. Do you know what I mean?
Here's where the problem comes in.
Go on.
Feeling is a matter of perception.
Mm-hmm.
And also that continuously changes.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of how you feel at this very moment about me as a person doesn't mean that this is how you're going to feel in like a year or like 6 months.
100%.
Right? But there's a part of this which is extremely important, which is, do the words that we say to people actually matter?
But that's what I'm saying. You know, I look at my last relationship and it was only like 3-4 months. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he met my family, I met his family, we got a puppy together, we were looking at apartments, everything happened too soon, but in that moment, that's how we felt. And I look at him and I'm thinking the words he said, like, oh, you know, like he said, oh, I want to be with you forever. And the thing is, that's another thing. Women, we have more feelings. Like we're very emotional people. Sure. So when someone says to me, oh, I'm going to marry you one day, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to marry him one day. What am I going to wear? Like all of this shit, you know? But for a guy, they're just words. And that's another thing. But he was like, we broke up. And within a week, I felt like he'd already started talking to someone else, I felt like.
You felt like, or he was?
Well, I knew.
Okay, so he was.
Well, he wasn't talking to someone else, but he was commenting on other people's pictures. And I just felt like a week after.
Well, for some people, not just guys, for some people that's a coping mechanism, though. So,
and he was very insecure, and that's why we broke up.
Right.
Because he just didn't trust me at all. Didn't.
So the reason was that he thought that you were going to cheat on him?
Yeah, or he thought I was doing something, which I clearly wasn't. And then I kind of got to that point where I was like, if you keep thinking I'm doing something, then what are you doing? That's what I thought. And then he called me about a few weeks ago and was like, do you miss me? And all of this stuff. And I'm like, why are you contacting me? Like, I broke up with you because the way you treated me was, the end of the relationship was awful. I was coming home, like, exhausted. Just didn't trust me. Didn't.
So you were coming home exhausted and he was fighting with you about where you were, what you were doing.
Oh, no, not even that. I was with him 24/7. So there was nothing to do with that. But it was, like, stupid things. Like, I was in the car and it was him, his mum, me, and his roommate and the puppy. And it was his mum and his mum and the dad at the front. And it was me, his roommate, and him at the back of the car, like at the back seats. And his puppy was a Doberman. So Dobermans are crazy. And a Doberman puppy, this puppy was insane. And the Doberman puppy was on his roommate's lap. And so he was like, can you pass me the dog? So I picked up the dog and my hand touched the guy's leg, the roommate's leg. Right? Because you're trying to pick up a dog from someone's lap. So your hand's technically it's gonna touch him somewhere. Sure. And he freaked out. You hoe, you're awful, you like my roommate. You can't be with someone like that. You can't be with someone like that. And even his mum was like, oh God, he might even be watching this. Even his mum was like, you need to go get like something. You need to go to a class. You need to go to sort out your anger problems.
Like an anger management.
Yeah. I just don't get how people can move on so quick after pretending or not pretending, saying they feel these certain things. It feels fake to me. It feels like an in the moment thing. Or let me say that because that's how it's going to make her feel. She's going to like that. So let me just say it for the sake of it.
It's
my opinion
first of all,
on relationships.
you said something. You said that, you know, men are like that, but women are not. But, you know, both genders are like that.
Oh, no, both women and men are awful, both of them.
They say things that they don't mean.
Women can be even awful.
But the thing is that
even
I
worse.
think, and that's essentially goes back to the same topic, which is lack of self-awareness. Mm-hmm. You know, we say things because it seems like saying it would satisfy the other person.
But then don't say it then. That's why I'm going with it. Right. Don't say it then.
Yeah. But here's my question. Have you ever been in love or not?
Yes.
With the first one?
First.
Do you think you were in love?
No, I know I was in love.
Okay.
Took me about a whole year and a half to get over him. I couldn't go near another guy for a whole year and a half. Couldn't kiss another. It made me feel sick. I didn't do anything for a very long time. But that also goes back to, he was my best friend. He was. We still keep in contact. Well, contact in terms of like, I'll reach out for Christmas or birthdays,
Sure.
holidays. And he's doing so well in Europe. He's a professional football player. And he's doing so well. But he was my best friend.
How much older is
Oh, he was
like
the same age. Yeah. But he just understood me. And he was a lovely guy. Lovely. Family were lovely. But the way he treated me was, you could tell his family taught him well. He was a very respectful, but very driven. Like, he wanted to be successful. His focus was football. And he's achieved it.
Did it end because of...
Distance. I moved.
Distance. Okay.
We didn't end on bad terms.
Right. Sure.
Maybe it was our time to end it,
I don't know. Are you still
Well,
in love with him?
Pardon?
Are you still in love with him?
No. It's over. I still have love for him, of course. But I'm not in love with him, no. But I just felt like, obviously at the time when we broke up, I was like, oh my God, this is awful. I was crying, couldn't sleep. But looking back, I think it was the right decision.
When you say I'm not in love with him, but I have love for him.
As a person, like, I care about him.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Does that mean that you can't fall in love with him again?
I mean, I'm speaking to someone at the moment. So, and that's fine.
So I suppose the answer to the question has to be no.
Well, if I could ever fall back in love with him, I mean...
Do you think that's possible? Do you think it's possible for two people
100%. 100%.
You think so?
100%. 100%.
What would that take for you?
Well, my specific case with him?
Your specific.
Well,
your
first,
specific personality, really.
First, if we were in the same country.
Okay.
And two, obviously, if we both wanted it. And because we were young. So it's like we've both matured without each other. We've both grown up and done different things. So I'm a different person to the person I was with when I was with him. I was a different girl. I was younger. I was naive. I was, and he was different as well. And he's matured. But I guess, yes, we've matured and we've gone older and we've done different things. We're still the same person.
Right. Well, I suppose there's two different ways to mature. What if you both mature at the same level of growth in a positive way?
Oh, we both have, I feel like.
Then it could still work because the same bases are remaining in place.
Yeah, but it also, he'd have to want it. I'd have to want it. He'd have to be single. I'd have to be single. So there's like lots of aspects. But 100%, two people can definitely get back together, especially if it didn't end in a bad way. Mm-hmm. If it did end in a bad way, then don't go back. I don't think. Don't go back to it.
When's your birthday?
September.
September what?
20th.
Oh, wow. You're 2 days after me.
When are you?
September 18th.
Oh, okay. Virgos.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So, that's interesting. So you're like very relationship-y.
When I'm in relationships, yes, 100%. But when I'm out of relationships, I like to take a long time to focus on me before I get back into another relationship.
That's great. That is great. I think everybody should be that way.
100%. I mean, when I got my first ever boyfriend, when we broke up, I didn't go near a guy for about a year and a half. But that's because I just didn't want to. And it was also like, I've just moved to LA, going to school. Let me focus on what I'm here for. I'm not here to fall in love. I'm here to focus on my career. And so it does take me a while to get to... Not only does it take me a while to get over someone, it's not only that, but it's also like, if you do me wrong, you do me wrong. I'll get over you very quickly. Still hurt, but I'll get over you very quickly. But it's also like, I need that process for me. I need to heal and figure out myself, Yeah,
100%. I think it's important for every person to have a significant amount of downtime after a significant relationship.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're together for 3 years, it's going to take you a long time to move on and to just take that time for yourself.
Well, it should if you meant the things that you
100%.
that you said.
But if it's only been a few months, then I don't know.
Well, yeah, if you don't fall in love with someone, it's fairly easy.
But it's weird because I think about it all the time. And the 2 last relationships I was in, I said I love you to them. But looking back, I don't think I ever was. So then why did I say it? I don't know. I always think about it.
Who said it first? You said it first?
No, they did.
So maybe that's
maybe
what
that
it
was why. I'll say it because it just makes me feel better. You felt
pressured into.
My last relationship, when I was with him, the good moments, I felt like I was in love with him. But the bad moments, I was like, no. And then ending it, I was like, if I compare the love with him to my first ever relationship, obviously I was with the other one for longer, but nowhere close.
So mostly infatuation and attraction than love.
Yeah. Like, what is love? What is love?
I deeply go into this in one of the earlier episodes, actually. I believe love is
a place, a feeling.
Well, it's being able to unconditionally give and not expect anything in return.
I feel that.
Do you?
No, I do.
Okay.
I feel it.
I don't know. Part of me doesn't believe that you do.
No, I do. 100%.
Not because I don't think you understand it. I think you do understand it. But I think
because I'm still young.
I think you're still young to feel that way about someone. And not to by any means.
If you tell from you just saying that, maybe I've never been in love.
I also think I have this theory that I hope I'm wrong. I really do. So for anybody out there, I really do hope I'm wrong about this.
Oh God.
But I think that finding the person you truly are in love with is less likely than winning the lottery. So think about that.
Oh my God, don't say that. That's close to fucking impossible.
Think about that.
That's close to impossible.
It is.
I don't want to die alone. But I'd rather, now this is deep, I'd rather die alone than die next to someone that I didn't love.
I said the exact same thing.
Sad, isn't it?
Yeah. I one of the things I told my ex was, and she knew this about me because I told her, I said, I'm not afraid of anything. There's not a single thing in this life I'm afraid of. There is one thing I'm terrified of.
What?
Ending up alone.
Dying alone, yeah, being alone. I'm terrified of that as well.
Not dying alone, because then when you die, you die.
Oh, yeah, but that's inevitable.
But
unfortunately, God, this is getting morbid.
Being alone for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. Being alone is like one of those things where you could be around a bunch of people, you could have a ton of friends.
But you're saying in love with, like a relationship,
you would
love.
You would still feel lonely because that person who's your best friend and who you can rely on through everything. Having that person.
Because your partner is technically your best friend. Is your best friend.
Has to be.
Has to be.
That's
interesting. And going back to that thing where you were saying, going back to what you were saying about love and dying alone and like relationships and how people move on quick and stuff. That's literally our society. Everything's quick now. Falling in love, falling out of love. Want food? Uber Eats. You know what I mean? You want to find a guy, you want to hook up with someone, Tinder, or go to a strip club or something, So everything's quick now.
Where'd you meet the guy that you're dating now?
Well, he's from back home.
Is that a long distance relationship?
Well, we're like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's with you in long distance
Trust
relationships?
Me. Honestly, if I knew. I seem to just attract people from different bloody countries.
Did you just get into it off Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's more deeper than that. But I don't really want to talk about it.
Okay, sure. So let me see how I could ask a question that is not that personal. Do you see a pattern with what you're attracted to?
In terms of the types of guy I go for and the ones that I attract.
Like what type of guys do you go for?
My last two guys I dated, they were both insecure. But my first boyfriend wasn't.
You were very young, so your personality was still shaping at the time.
100%. But I feel like all my exes have been different.
Okay.
Like, I don't have a type.
Well,
I have a type when it comes to, like...
It has to be successful.
Successful, educated, family-orientated, driven, you know, all of that. But in terms of looks and stuff, I'm not picky.
Sure.
What about you? When was your last relationship?
A year and a half ago, almost.
Are you talking to anyone?
No.
You're not ready? Or...
I actually had a couple of people I spoke with. So I have this thing now that like I said, I'm like a big advocate of self-awareness. No, I'm good. Thank you. Self-awareness. And I think that it is extremely dishonest to go in a relationship with someone just because you're trying to get over somebody else.
Well, that's a whole other situation.
Right.
Rebound.
I think that's hurtful to the person you go in a relationship with because they're not aware of. Unless
they know. Well, in that case, then
yes.
Yeah, that's up to them.
But most people don't. You know, most situations we go into is for selfish reasons as opposed to the other way around. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have all the girls you've dated been American?
No, I've had 2 Persian exes, and then the rest of them have been American.
Any differences?
I don't date Persian girls anymore.
Experiences?
Yeah, I mean they're a bit difficult.
You want to expand on
I'm
that?
I'm a very giving person.
Same.
And
maybe too giving, honestly.
A healthy relationship for me is one that is both giving and taking. So, and I'm a type of person who doesn't ask. I don't want to expect anything from you. I will not ask you to give me anything. Mm-hmm. So those are the two biggest, essentially downsides of my personality. So then what happens is if I'm in a relationship where the other person is just a taker, then it becomes very imbalanced. Mm-hmm. Whereas if the person who I end up with is also giving, then I don't ever have to ask for anything because I don't in general. So then the other person is also giving and I'm also giving. We're both givers.
So how do you deal with that then when in that relationship, let's say, you were... Now I'm questioning you. I like this. So when you were the giver and she was the receiver and she never really gave. So how did you deal with that? My
last relationship wasn't like that.
Okay, well the one that you were in. Have you ever been in a relationship like that?
That was just with a taker.
How do you approach that? Like, what do you mention it? Do you bring that up? Do you say, look, I'm doing all this and you don't seem to be giving anything back. We need to talk.
So there has to be communication, right? Here's the thing. Obviously, assuming that everybody has to go, has to be in a relationship knowing what they want and who they are and how they are is unrealistic. So ultimately, if you are in a relationship where the other person is not as much of a giver as you would like him to be, or the relationship is somewhat imbalanced and you want it to become imbalanced, there has to be communication because that's the only way that you're going to get anywhere.
With anything.
Yeah. So if you try to communicate with the person and you say, hey, look, I think it is unhealthy for the way that our relationship is right now because these are the things that are happening, and I'm starting to feel resentment towards you as a result of it, then and I think the solution is this. And so that's where also the problem comes in, is that a lot of times we go into communications with a lot of anger and resentment to begin with. So
nothing
then
gets solved.
The other person starts to feel defensive. So then when that happens, nobody gets any results.
No. And it's just a battle.
And a lot of times people tend to keep things in themselves, where it starts to build up and then we explode.
100%. Like, something small could happen. We go out. Let's say me and you are in a relationship. We go out and you are constantly looking at this female, but I don't say anything. And then a few months later, I mention it. No, mention it there and then. Solve it there and then. Because then it becomes a problem.
Exactly.
Because then the relationship from then when you don't say it, relationship becomes an issue, kind of. There's something there. Just mention it. Other things will boil up. And then when you break up, you're like, you did this. Why didn't you tell me that then?
Yeah.
If you felt that way, tell me there and then. I'm a big person. I'm a big boy. I'm a big girl. I can deal with it. I can take it.
Yeah, I can't fix something I have no idea exists.
100% awareness. How do you feel about breaks? Do you think that when a couple decide to go on a break, they should just end up breaking up there and then? Or do you think breaks work?
I think breaks are healthy as long as there is clear communication. And there has to be an exact understanding on what it is that both people are doing and why they're doing it. And I think it also depends on the person and like what circumstances they're under. But sometimes I think if two people are trying to take a break, it could be helpful if during the time they're basically taking that break, once a week they see someone. So you go to like a couples therapist. Or you go to like a relationship coach.
I thought you meant like seeing other people.
Oh, no. That could work. For some relationships, that could work.
And for you to then realize that the other person's actually the one type thing, you know?
For some people, yeah. And see, now the only situation where that would work is if somebody is lacking awareness. And so in that particular situation, then yes, go see other people to see if that you could gain some perspective, basically.
So my opinion on breaks is I feel like breaks can be useful when it comes to relationships that have been together, when people have been together for a long time.
100%.
If you've been in a relationship with someone for 3 months and you really want to take a break, well, what's that telling you? Do you know what I mean? If you've been in a relationship with someone for like 3 months and you're constantly fighting, then there's just something not there that needs to continue, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be an anchor. You know, there has to be a reason why you want to keep a relationship, right? If you said to me that, you know, I met this guy, fell in love with him, I know he's the one, but the relationship has been toxic, he's been bad for me, like he's been doing this, he's been doing that, but...
Then he's not the one.
But he's willing to change.
People don't actually change them. Why do you want to change someone?
People change all the time.
Yeah, but why would you want to change someone?
Not that you want to change them, but they're willing to change.
It depends on what
I'd
find it bad if someone wanted to change me.
Okay, let me give you an
mean?
example. You're in a relationship, and the example that you gave yourself, the guy looks at girls, and that bothers you. You would dump him. Is that what you said?
No.
What did you say?
No. I wouldn't.
Oh, you wouldn't dump him?
No.
Yeah, okay. But let's say that bothers you, right? Him looking at other girls.
Okay, really
bugs
quickly.
you.
I know what you're going to say.
Okay.
But I'm saying if... Let's say you use the same example, and then I'm like, okay, and he said, I'm willing to change. I'm not going to do that anymore because I know that upsets you. I'm not going to do it. He'll start to not do it, but it eventually will start creeping back in. I feel like
there's no such a thing.
What has happened to me?
Yeah, but there is no such a thing as creeping back in if somebody truly has changed.
Well, then they obviously didn't change to begin with.
But you have to. But the difference is that you have to wire your mind differently in order to change. You can't just say I changed just because you stopped doing something. There's a difference. There's a difference between changing, actually changing,
And slightly changing.
And
adjusting.
And stopping a certain habit for a period of time. There's a massive difference between the two.
And I feel like I've never been with someone that, if that is the case, and I do need someone to change with some things, they've never managed to do it. Never. Yeah. Or if they've made me believe that they have, and then they flip back to the old person.
Yeah, and that's when it becomes tricky, is how could you possibly know? You know? But also another part of it is that, you know, a lot of the information you're referring to are about the two relationships, one of 8 months, one of 3 months, which I'm assuming you're talking about the 8 months relationship you were in. About whatever it is you're referring to as far as change is concerned.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm assuming you're talking about his anger. In which case, a person, how old was he, or is he?
24.
So he's like 5 years. He was 24. He's 24 now.
24 now.
Okay, yeah. So he's 4 years older than you, and so he's so young.
He's older than me.
But that
am I supposed to go for 30-year-old now?
That has nothing to do with no. But just because you are in a certain place mentally.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I know what you mean.
That you're essentially have surpassed your age line. That doesn't necessarily mean that everybody who's older than you, who are within their age line, should be more mature. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I feel you. Just because you act like a 30-year-old doesn't mean that a 24.
Like a 30-year-old.
No, I'm just giving that as an example. I think you're mature for your age. So mm-hmm. I don't mean like you act like a 30-year-old, like you're an old person. I'm just saying, I know. You're mature like a 30-year-old. You know, mm-hmm. I mean, that's how you come off anyway.
Mm-hmm. No, it's true.
So, although there are 30-year-olds who are not really that mature either.
No.
So
I mean, men mature very late. Let's be real.
Yeah. So they say. I don't know if I particularly agree with that. I think age is really irrelevant. It really has nothing to do with matureness. I think it has a lot more to do with
experiences.
Well, the one is experiences, but it's the desire to want to grow. I think if you don't have the desire to grow, you're going to stop yourself from growing at all times. Mm-hmm. Which is one of the things that happened in my past relationship was that
gossip.
It was, she wanted to act her age.
And you didn't.
No, not that I didn't. I was acting my age.
And was she older? Were you older?
No, she's younger. She's 10 years younger than me.
No way.
So she wanted to act her age, and she wanted to live her age. You know, and being with a guy who is constantly in the search of growth and constantly wanting to be better and constantly wanting to do better could, you know, it was the opposite of what she wanted to do for herself.
But you were also in different stages of your life. Or not?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
And that's why it ended. Without other things
amongst other reasons, yeah. She's trying to find herself. She's trying to figure out what it is that you know makes her happy, how she can love herself before she can love anybody else.
Yeah. And that goes back to social media. Trying to love yourself. Right. Finding it hard to love yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's relationships are very tricky. But I think the most important aspect of any relationship should be the desire to understand one another. It's easy to get defensive. It's easy to blame somebody else for what they do. It's hard to reflect, look at ourselves, and sit down and really just wait a second and say, how can I make a difference in a positive way in the situation?
Another thing about relationships I've realized, and I'm still young, so I'm obviously going to fuck up and learn all of this. But what I've realized about relationships in my past too is the respect needs to be there. Like, you need to respect one another. You know, when I got into arguments with my exes, it would be like, there would be swearing battles. And it's like, no, have respect for me. You know, treat me like the way you're supposed to treat me. Don't swear at me. Don't shout at me. If I'm not doing that, then don't do it back.
Yeah.
There needs to be respect. Respect
100%.
is a big thing.
100%.
And another thing as well, I think my last 2 relationships struggled a lot because it was always about them and their careers. It was never about me and my career and what I wanted to do. It was always about them and, will you come with me to my shoot? Yeah, of course. I'll drop my thing because I'll come with you. And I realized, no, it shouldn't be like that. You know, I'm an actor. So if I have to do a scene where I have to kiss someone, you're going to have to respect that. You know, I don't want you to freak out. You have to respect that. As part of dating me, you're going to have to take that on. Like, that's a response. Like, that's a thing you're going to have to deal with. I'm an actor. That's what I do. If you don't like that, then you know where the door is.
That's a rough one. The industry is, it's tough to navigate when it comes to relationships. You know?
Social media as well.
Yeah. But that's interesting because you, being an actor though, how do you, I get your, so I'm assuming you don't feel, do you feel the same way you do about OnlyFans as you do about adult acting?
Depends on what adult acting we're talking about.
Porn.
Oh, 100%.
But you don't like porn?
No.
You don't think it should exist?
I don't like it, but I'm not going to like diss people for liking it or for wanting to like watch it.
Well, I'm not asking you whether you would diss people or not.
I don't think it should not exist because there's lots of people who like it.
Okay,
I just personally, I don't go near it.
You're God right now. You have the choice to whether
I'm God every day.
allow porn
to
allow porn to exist or take it away. Which one would you choose?
Take it away.
Take it away.
What about you? See, when you say adult acting, like I'm okay with like 50 Shades of Grey and 365 Days if you've seen them.
Well, I'm wondering where that line. Well, I'm wondering where that line is for you because both of them are sort of.
I would never do nude acting. I would never be nude on camera, but I'll make out with someone.
But see, all of those things are within the same box, which is sexually. It's sexualizing a scene, regardless of how small or big. They're part of a same thing. And I understand where you're drawing the line. I get that the line.
That's my personal line.
Yeah, and I get that, and I understand that. But I'm wondering how you see it different.
What do you mean?
Like how you think that like the first half of it is okay, but the second half, once you get into like intercourse and things becoming much more.
But porn and watching a film about two people having sex is different.
How's that?
In terms of like porn is like you see everything, and like some sex scenes you don't.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing that's different. It's just visually.
Because I think it's different because one, it's a movie, so it's not really real, even though it is real, if that makes sense. I don't know how to describe it, but I just feel like porn is more. I don't know how to describe it, but porn doesn't feel as legit. I don't know how to describe it. You're trying to confuse me. But do you know what I mean?
I'm not trying to confuse you at all.
But do you understand where I'm coming from?
I I'm trying to understand where you're coming from.
So you don't?
I think you have a line of reasoning that you can't describe, which means that you're not quite sure about why you feel the way you do.
I just feel like if this is going to sound bad. There's different types of people who watch a film that's got sex in it compared to people that watch porn. You're attracting the different types of people.
Can the same person watch both?
100%, but...
So what does that mean?
I don't know how to just explain it, but like, when I think of porn, and I think of people watching it, obviously this is a stereotype, I think of old fucking ugly, horny men watching it.
Okay.
And when I think of watching a love film with sex in it, because that's another thing, porn, it's all about sex. A movie's not all about sex, there's more to it. Porn is literally just sex. That's what you're watching.
Okay.
In a movie, there's a story behind it. There's something going on.
Okay.
And you're seeing the passion and the love.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's go back to what you said, which was probably the key thing.
What?
You said when you think about porn, you picture old disgusting men in front of a screen.
And when I think of the film,
jerking off to whatever it is they're watching, right?
Yeah.
And when you think about the film, you think about like
families,
like all
and
these like
couples and whatever.
Okay, so like regular people watching.
I'm not saying that old fucking horny men aren't regular people, but they're not exactly sane, are they? I can't do this.
That's hilarious.
But do you know what I mean?
I understand what you're saying, but but then that would suggest that like hot, good-looking men don't watch porn.
Of course I do. Well,
Okay,
I don't
so then
know.
why don't you picture that? Would that make porn more appealing for you?
I just feel that people can relate to a movie with sex in it more than porn. I don't know. Now I'm just putting myself in there. Now I'm just digging myself a hole. I'm nowhere to be seen. But do you know what I mean? I feel like when you watch a film and there's sex in it, it builds up because of like the storyline. There's something going on. It's a film. It's not technically real. Porn is though. Even though porn technically real isn't real either, but oh my god. You know what? And look, I just picked up this.
What is it?
It's a peanut.
Oh,
I
man.
just feel
This has been great.
I don't know many people that watch porn.
You don't know that many people that watch porn? Is that what you just said?
Well, I mean, I don't technically ask them, do you watch porn?
Precisely the point. So it's
But
not that you don't know that they watch porn or not. It's just you have no knowledge of it whatsoever.
You're pissing me off.
Why is that?
You know what I mean? Because I've never thought about it. I've never thought about the question you asked me about whether why porn isn't acceptable, but like sex scenes in a film is acceptable.
Yeah, because you said that about OnlyFans as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which is,
if you want to do OnlyFans, cool, go ahead. It's just not for me.
but again, if you were in control of society, you would take that away.
No.
You're lying.
I don't know. I mean, what does it promote to the young girls in our world?
What does it promote?
That you can post pictures of you naked and get paid for it.
And how is that bad? By no means I'm suggesting that's good. I'm just asking questions.
Because I feel like young girls, let's say you're 10, they need to They need to experience what it's like being a kid before they can start jumping into all this adult shit about sex and boobs and knowing you have boobs and knowing you have puberty and all of this. Like, it's a process. And knowing that there's an OnlyFans thing at such a young age puts them in a position where they mature too quick.
And maturing too quick is bad.
Yeah.
Because
like they become grown too quick. Like Justin Bieber, he was 15 when he became, like we were talking about it, when he became famous.
And you don't think mentally they'd be prepared for what?
100% not.
Yeah.
They can say they are, but they're not. And if they think they are, or they act like it, a few years down the line they'll admit that they weren't.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, cool, you've got a nice body, Instagram model, whatever, porn star, you want to do that and get paid, go ahead. I don't think it's right.
So should there be an age limit for
100%.
it? So what should it be?
21 and over.
So from 18 we have to go to 21.
I'm not even allowed to because I'm 20. So, all right, 18.
Well, it is 18 now.
Is it?
Yeah. Not Instagram though. Instagram is like 13 or something.
Instagram should be later.
I think 13 or something like that.
You can always make it up though. You can pretend to move your age, right? Because when you sign up for Instagram, you create the name, then you pretend to put your birthday, and then I think you create like a phone number or email to connect it to.
Well, yeah, I mean at that point it becomes a parental issue.
100%.
Because as soon as you have you have a phone, right? Then you have parents who have given you that phone, and then if your parents are not checking what you're on, which I think kids nowadays have become like so like entitled, like don't go through my shit in my room, or like don't go through my phone. Like you don't have like what privacy is not a right.
But and that's another thing. I was talking to my friend about it the other day because lots of my like family friends' kids, like younger boys, are obsessed with video games. Obviously, you know, like Call of Duty, all of these war games and bad game, like not bad games, but all these like fighting, disturbing games. And I was curious because I was asking my friend, and I said to her, "What do you think about that? Like young kids at the age of like 8 to 10 going on all these games where they can shoot people." You know, because I was reading an article a long time ago about the percentage of people that are around those types of games at such a young age that then turn into fucking serial killers.
Oh, wow.
Think about it.
That's crazy.
If you're playing video games at like 4 or 5 and you're used to killing people, doesn't affect you. You're killing them on a game, so why can't you do it in real life?
I don't know. That has to be such a small percentage, though.
100%, but there's still a percentage.
Yeah, but
with anything.
But do you think that's?
What do you think about it?
I always think about so the difference between nature and nurture. I always think about that, and I think that nurture has a lot less to do with who we become as a person than nature does.
Okay.
Because I believe that how we are born stays with us.
But how we evolve changes.
But the thing is that you could be in the worst circumstances possible
and still
for nurture, which is nurture, and yet come out well-rounded with good manners because your nature was good.
Yeah. I feel that.
And you could be in the best case possible and have the best nurture and turn out shitty as hell.
I've thought about it though, because I've always thought that growing up and going to private school, I've always thought that people who have money, who've come from money, never end up being as successful as those who don't. Because they've come from it. They've got it already, and they don't need to make anything of it. You know, I speak to so many girls that went to my school, and I know lots of them, and I'm like, so what do you want to do? Like, you know, what do you want to do for your career? Oh, nothing, just chill. And because they have daddy's money, right? But then I think about guys people who've struggled. You know, think about all these big artists, all these big stars. Most of them have come from struggle. Think about it.
Yeah. Well, some of them have.
Not all of them, but yeah, some of them. Because they know what it's like and they never want to go back to that place. You think about all the footballers. Think about the Brazilians, the Argentinians. They've come from it, you know. The Colombians, they've come from that place of suffering and hardship. That's why when they play football, they leave it all off on the field. They just sweat and they die, you know. Think about Messi.
That's a very specific group of people, but
yeah. But I'm just saying.
So,
I think about that a lot.
Let me ask you one last question, because we're like, how long do you think it's been? Like off the top of your head.
It's been an hour, isn't it?
Hour 40 minutes, 47 minutes.
Are you gonna edit that all?
No, it's gonna be the whole thing, basically. On
Instagram.
On everything. On
you
YouTube,
can put
Instagram.
an hour on something on Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Which reminds me, I actually have to put the first one on there. I haven't yet, because it's on YouTube and like everything else. But yeah.
Anyway, go on.
How do you feel about casual sex? I feel like I already know the answer to that question, but
it's changed. It's changed over the years.
Interesting. What was it before?
At the beginning, I was like, shouldn't be a thing. Because grew up religious, grandparents always. My grandma was like, never open your legs for anyone unless it's your husband. So growing up, I was always around that in the church, whatever. And I always thought, no, that's never going to be me. I'm not going to do that. But now I think, I mean, it happens a lot. So now it's become normal. I think it's okay if both people know it's casual sex.
Okay.
But if one person leads the other person on to thinking they want more and then they decide to change and be like, no, then I don't agree with that. I don't agree with misleading people into sex.
Yeah.
But if it's two people that, I don't know, let's say one woman, she just, her and her ex just broke up, or another, or like two, I always think about it, like two married people who've just had divorces and have been divorced for a while, and they both got cheated on, and their ex is like, wanted a divorce, and they broke up. And these two people come together and they're wanting to get to know each other, and they just happen to have sex. That's fine. Sex is sex. Sex is a part of the world.
Right.
If you're going to want to have sex with someone, you can. No.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
No, I agree with you. It kind of, when you asked me that question, like, have you like been dating anyone since my ex? And that I literally, so what you said about like being, you know, straightforward, I had a couple of people I talked to about this. Oh, actually, the people who I've been with ever since. The very recent one, I sat her down and I was like, hey, I got to talk to you. And she was like, what's going on? And I was like, I just want to be like honest with you. I'm not in any shape or form looking for a relationship. I can't be in one right now. So,
just want to let you know.
I don't want to lead you on, and I don't want to hurt you in any way. I think that's dishonest. So I want to give you the choice to decide, you know, what you want this to be. If if you're okay with it just being, you know, essentially friends with benefits, then that's okay with me.
Do you think that, did she agree?
Yeah, she was like, I appreciate you telling me. And she goes, nobody's ever had this conversation with me like that.
But people always
like,
fall in love out of those situations. I'm sorry.
Well,
I really
it depends.
think they do. I really think. There's always one person.
Though. It depends. It depends how far you take it and how often.
But did you tell the girl that you weren't looking for a relationship at the very beginning of you guys talking?
Yeah.
Like you didn't tell her a few months in?
Yeah, no, it was like the second time I saw her.
There we go. That's a problem otherwise if you don't do it
no,
later.
no, it wasn't. Yeah, but that's the whole point, which is like you have to tell them right off the bat, but you have to know what you want to begin with. And I think a lot of people lie to themselves or lie to other people.
Casual sex, like, I used to look at people and judge them, maybe like, what the fuck, you just had casual sex? Ugh. But it's normal.
Keep in mind, I'm not a big fan of it.
No, that's the same with me. I'd rather have sex with someone that I'm with and that I have that connection with, because that's way better than just sleeping with a random person.
Yeah.
But if it happens, it happens. What can I do? Like, it's not a sin.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get arrested for it.
Yeah, it doesn't quite make me feel that good.
No.
Because I'm very much more into like having a connection with someone. I think a best case scenario for me is like having a really good friend who I could have sex with, but then I'm just not in a relationship with.
But do you think, like this girl that you were talking about, if you guys continue doing what you're doing and you no labels, could you see yourself being in a relationship with her?
No. But it has nothing to do with her because I think she's amazing.
You just wouldn't be in a relationship. It's not that you don't want to be in a relationship with her. You just don't want a relationship, period.
I just can't. I think.
Why is that?
Well,
you're not ready?
Yeah. I mean, that's a big part of it.
And that's another problem where females try and force it, or females try and think that they can change that person and be like, no, they'll want to be in a relationship with me. I'll just keep having sex with them, keep hanging out with them, and then they'll feel it, and then they realize they don't feel it, and then they've screwed themselves. Yeah,
I mean, it becomes like a mission, to try to prove to. I mean, some people do that. I mean, I'm sure men or women try to prove to themselves that they could get the person. I was talking to a friend of mine about this. I stopped going after women in a like in a pushy way, trying to prove myself. Yeah.
If they want you type thing.
I think attraction has to be
100%.
very balanced, and there has to be a two-way street between two people. So if I hit you up and I'm like, hey, do you want to hang out? And you were like, yeah, like, let's hang out. And then, okay. Let's say nothing happens, plans fall through. Mm-hmm. And then I try again. Hey, like, when should we hang out? And plans fall through again.
Yeah, you're not going to keep pursuing it.
Yeah.
If she wants to make it work, she'll make it work type thing.
Well, the thing is, I don't even... Because there's a group of men who would argue that you have to, like...
Pursue. You
have to, like, try and create an impression. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, there are ways, which I'm well aware of how.
Oh, okay.
I am. But I don't think it's... I think that's what leads to relationships ending. Is because you create this impression for someone. Mm-hmm. And they start to feel things, right? They become attracted to you, right? In a way, it's sort of manipulative, mm-hmm. because you've convinced the person. It's almost like being a salesman. Mm-hmm. I try to sell myself to you, mm-hmm. right? But those feelings, the dopamine, the feeling of like the tingles that you're getting, like all these feelings start to fade away after a while. As men, we don't pursue the woman 24/7, right? Like when you got someone, the energy that you were putting into it, it starts to fade away. 100%. You don't put the same exact energy 100%. Into the relationship anymore. Mm-hmm. So what happens is that convincing also starts to fade away on the woman's part.
That's interesting, because I was talking to a friend of mine. She lives in my apartment building, And me and her, she's been watching this like relationships advice, this guy who's like really big now. He's like this French guy. And he was saying how relationships always always good at the beginning. But then it's like, the honeymoon period.
Phase,
and then that's when it starts to get real. And he was saying, if I'm a hunter and you're the deer, there's two deers, right? You're one of the deers that's running away, like trying to save your life. And there's another deer that's like, kill me, coming up to you. Which one do you think the hunter's going to want to kill?
The one that's running away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why?
There's more excitement for the hunter.
The other one, the one that's coming up to him, is not.
It's not as exciting.
He's giving himself to him. And he was explaining that in his videos. He's very, I like that guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's very interesting.
Yeah.
But it's true. And I feel like lots of women just give themselves.
You think so? I think women play hard to get way too often, way too much.
Maybe it's just the people I know them. But I know lots of females that would just like, where a guy like doesn't want them, but they still will pursue him. To the point where it gets like, you need to like stop. You know? Like he clearly doesn't want you. Don't start making a fool of yourself. But I do know what you mean about women trying to play hard to get. But good for them.
You think so?
Why not?
Because that's what it ends up being. They play hard to get, but then they go after the ones that don't want them.
But girls always go for bad boys. Girls are attracted to bad boys.
Isn't that the problem?
100%.
See, girls want something, but go for something else. It's very interesting. What women say is, I want a guy who's nice. I want a guy who's got his shit together. I want a guy for this, and
but
this,
they
and
always
that.
go for the wrong one.
And then they go for the loser who's got nothing, who is a dick to them.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
But it's always... Oh, I was going to say something. It's always... I don't remember what I was going to say. What were we talking about before this? You said we were talking about something. It was the same subject, but I don't remember what you were saying.
I was saying that men go after, or essentially men... Well, I was talking about how I stopped trying to prove myself because that creates an imbalanced relationship.
I don't remember what I was going to say. But yeah, women always go for the bad boys.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about the French guy.
No, it was way after that. But yeah, no, women always go for the wrong ones.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Women always go, people in general, men and females, we always want the one that doesn't want us.
Well, we can't have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. And then the one that does want us, that's the nice guy that's buying you roses every week, is the one that never gets to look in.
Right. Is that how you are?
I mean, I've dated my fair share of bad boys, or spoken to my fair share of bad boys. You can never change them.
Is that desire to change them a part of the equation?
I'm just that type of girl that I don't like someone who's just there. Like, just tells me how they feel straight away, everything. I need a bit of excitement. I need a bit of chase. I need a bit of unpredictability. You know? Like, I can't have that guy that's like, has never met me. And after the, like, not never met me, but like, unless I've been speaking to a guy for like a day, and he's like, I want you to be my girlfriend. Like, no. I need, like, do you know what I mean? I need it to be built up. I need a guy who, like, will text me one day, and then the next day won't text me as much. Then I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Do you know what I mean? I don't like a routine.
I know what you mean, but
I don't like a routine. Like, I don't want someone to just tell me how they feel every single day. I want there to be a bit of excitement. I want them to know that they actually mean it instead of just saying it every day. I want to hear it maybe twice a week, so then I know that it's more genuine.
But do you think? But that's the definition of ungenuine.
What do you mean?
The men who act like that are not genuine about what they want.
But I'm saying, like, I don't want a guy to be like, I want a guy to, like, obviously want me. Like, I need someone to, like, worship the ground I'm on.
But you want the guy to play games.
But I also want the guy not to play games, but also...
But that's what that is playing games. It's literally playing games. What else would it be? Okay,
At the beginning stages.
But you're saying
when
that
I'm
as
in a relationship with them, that's different.
I understand. But here's the question.
Go on.
Let me make this as easy as possible for you because I think you're in denial on what you think.
What do you mean?
Okay. I like you, and I want to date you. Mm-hmm. I know that in my head. Mm-hmm. I like this girl, and I want to date her. Do you want me to like you and want to date you?
Yeah.
Or no? Okay.
But I don't want you to tell me.
Okay, but should I know it myself?
What?
That I want to date you?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I know that in my head, I'm thinking to myself, if I'm a good person, so you also want the guy to be nice, no?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a nice guy who wants to date you, who wants to hang out with you, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. And I say to myself, hey, you're thinking about this girl at this very moment right now. Mm-hmm. But don't text her because she's going to think that you like her.
No, text me.
You just said that you want the chase.
I want to know that the person's interested.
But you just said you don't want the guy to tell you.
No, I want to know that the person's interested, but I don't want it to be like all these messages 24/7 and all these calls and I love you, kissy hearts like everywhere. I want it to be like, hey, beautiful, how are you doing? Not like, hey, babe, how are you? Love you so much. Oh my God, I miss you. Da-da-da. Do you know what I mean? I want it to be like a slight.
You don't want him to speak his mind. You want him to miss you. But you don't want him to tell you that.
I just don't want him to be like, because that's what I'm saying. Like my last relationship, from experience, it all happened too quick.
Okay.
We became a couple too quick. We loved each other after like the second week. Like we were together all the time, and we were always like, I love you, all this stuff, and it faded so quick. That's why our relationship ended, because we went for what it went too quick. We didn't really know each other.
Are you suggesting that because your prior relationship ended as a result of you believing that it was too quick, so therefore the next one shouldn't be too quick?
No, it shouldn't.
The two are not related.
I know, but I don't want to I don't want to get it wrong, and I don't want to rush into anything. And I have a problem of rushing into things. My last relationship I rushed into. So I'm saying that the next guy I end up being with, I'm not trying to rush into it.
Yes.
Makes
and
sense?
so you could, no, I 100% understand and agree with that.
But
you assuming that just because somebody tells you they're attracted to you.
I like that.
But you just said you don't want them to tell you.
What do you mean? I do want them to tell me. I just don't want them to be 24/7. Do you know what I mean? I don't want it to be like all these like paragraphs and paragraphs. Exactly.
Okay. So
they should hold back, but they should at least let me know how they feel. But they should hold back on all the other stuff, like all these other extra messages. Like, I had a dream about you last night. Okay, like, relax. You can tell me that in person. You don't have to send me fucking 5 paragraphs. And another thing, I don't like to feel like I'm locked into something. If I'm talking to a guy and I don't call him, don't get mad at me that I didn't call you. I'm not your girlfriend yet. Don't act like you can. Do you know what I mean? Don't act like I'm yours.
Look, I totally understand where you're coming from. And you're not the only person who's like this. A lot of women are like that.
Now you're comparing me to a lot of women. Appreciate it.
A lot of women are like that. A lot of women don't want to feel pressured, number one, which you said. I
don't want to feel like I'm
being
choked,
trapped into something. Yes.
And I'm going to feel bad for like doing, I
understand. And a lot of women don't want to feel that the guy is a simp and too clingy. Like, these are the things that women don't want to feel in a start of a date. But here's where the problem comes in. For a man to know this information, for a man to know how to act, exactly how to act, requires, one, for him to have experience, and two, to play games and be aware of how to manipulate your feelings. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
And a nice guy who's focused on their work and career does not know these things.
Well, then I guess I am going to be like alone forever then. Clearly. No, it's just that... Because then it comes to another point, like... I was talking to one of my girlfriends and she was saying how she was talking to a guy. And he cried in front of her and she didn't like it. Mm-hmm. She just felt uncomfortable. But I like that. I like a guy to feel vulnerable. I don't mind a guy to feel vulnerable. If a guy wants to cry in front of me, cool. At least I know that they feel safe with crying in front of me. And I feel like lots of females don't like, especially out here from what I've seen, they don't like the guys to be all touchy-feely, all nice. They like the guy to be rude and they get attracted by it. And I'm not attracted to that. I just don't want someone to be telling me, to the point where I feel uncomfortable. You know, I was talking to one guy. Okay, I'm going to bring an experience in here. Mm-hmm. I was talking to one guy and I'd only spoken to him for about 4 days. And he was talking, and I was telling him I'm busy. Like, I've got a busy schedule. He said, but I want to see you. Like, I really do. I really like you. I think you could be perfect. Like, I think my mum and dad are going to love you. You want to come over next week for food? I'm like, never met you. You could be a fucking serial killer / weirdo. And you're asking me to meet your parents already. I appreciate that's sweet. That's nice. Okay, he's being vulnerable. He's opening up. But then I'm like, I'm busy. And then he's like, what are you doing tonight? Well, I told you I'm busy. Well, 12 o'clock, I'll pick you up. No, but I'm busy. Like, I'm going to be busy. But you're not going to be busy at 12. No, I'm going to be asleep at 12. Oh, so you can't make time for me. I'm like, I've only spoken to you for 4 days. I would let you know when I'm free. Like, I have a life. And then I wake up to 20 missed calls. Hey, baby. Hey, babe. Love emojis, kissy hearts, pictures of weddings. And I'm like, wait, what? Showing me pictures of weddings and like a wedding dress and shit. You look cute in this wedding dress. What do you think?
Oh my God.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay? The weirdos. Don't even ask me how I started talking to this guy, how I even got his number and any of it. But honestly, that's what I'm talking about. The slightly loonies out there.
Okay, all right.
Now, do you understand?
Let's pull it back a little bit.
Exactly. Thank you. Because I rest my case. That's not what you were talking about, but still.
No. I understand what you're saying, and I think, for the record, let's just. I want to defend this guy a little bit, okay, just a little bit, because I think, unfortunately, and
names are being. I'm not saying any names.
Sure, and I think this happens a lot with a lot of men who. I think what's important to know about a guy like that, okay?
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
You are saying it's a bad thing.
I just don't like that.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that guys are like that are bad. Like,
a lot
other
of
girls
women,
were like that.
A lot of women would be turned off by that, okay? Which I understand. I understand the reason behind it.
It's too much.
But also, I think, and this is where it comes to, is that Did you ever give him feedback? Did you ever tell him any of these things that you thought? Did you tell him that you thought he was being too...
Yeah, I told him to slow down.
What did he say?
I said, look, I appreciate all your kindness. I appreciate these words and whatever you're saying to me. But this is still like the early stages. Like, let's just get to know each other and see where it goes. I said it in a polite way. You know, it's weird because it's like, if the guy that I liked said it to me, I'd probably like... So I wasn't attracted to him that much.
Right.
If a guy that I was really attracted to said it to me, maybe I'd like it a bit more.
Right. See, that's what it is. But also, okay, I'm gonna give you a really good example of like how I was when I was younger. In my early 20s, at heart, I'm a very I romanticize everything. I love romantic relationships. Like
You love love.
Yeah.
Same.
I go all out. Like when it comes to like Valentine's Day, when it comes to like planning weddings, like stuff like that.
You can plan me and this guy's wedding. Maybe he's already done it for me.
And so just growing up, I was like that. I would go on a date with a girl, and then I would plan out the next 10 years of my life with her in my head.
That's cute.
But see, you think that as an outsider. The girl at the time probably wouldn't if she was in my head, right? Like if I was like saying all that stuff, which I wasn't. But one of the things that I was doing, I was way too nice. I had this thing that like I just was way too nice to women. I went on a date with this girl, and it was good. I didn't make any moves. I wasn't that confident at the time, so I like didn't like try to like make out or anything. We said goodbyes. She went home. I set up a second date with her, and the day of, she hits me up and she goes, "Hey, I don't feel good. I need to cancel."
But she was with another guy.
She wasn't.
Oh, okay.
And this is how I know. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like, let me know if there's anything." I think at the time I said, like, "Let me know if you want to hang out another time." She was like, "Yeah, sure." And then my dumbass went and I bought flowers. I drove. She lived like an hour away. I drove all the way to her place and knocked on her door, and I was like, "Hey, I know like you weren't feeling good. I wanted to like bring you some flowers." And she was like, "Oh my God, that's so sweet. Thank you so much."
But
I never heard from her ever again.
what?
So
You never heard from her ever again?
yeah,
Why?
because she probably thought what you
That was
thought.
weird.
She probably
that's
thought that was
different.
weird for a guy to show up.
That's different. That's different than a guy that I've never really spoken to starts sending me pictures of wedding pictures and then gets angry at me for not wanting to hang out with him when I said I was busy. That's a sweet gesture. You driving all that way.
I know, but
to give
women
her
don't think
flowers.
that.
Well, I like that.
But a lot of other women don't. A lot of other women would find it way too clingy, way too cheesy.
And that's why so many guys are assholes now.
The amount of times I've heard women say to me, "Some shit I did was too cheesy." And that's essentially why so now I don't do any of the things that I used to do.
No, you should.
But that's besides the point. Of course. But that's what it goes to. Is like I've learned to play the game. Now I've learned how to manipulate. Now I've learned all these things that I never knew before.
I just think that from my perspective, the reason why I don't like the guy I was telling you about, the one that's always sending me pictures and all of this, it just makes it seems fake to me. It doesn't make it seem genuine. How can you have all these feelings already? You don't even know me. You know what I mean? I've never met him. And he's sending me all these pictures. It just makes me feel fake. And it also makes me feel like he does it with every girl. That's where I'm coming from. It makes me feel like he's bullshitting because he just wants to get in my pants or see me. Or he's done this to lots of females. And then another reason. Do you ever think about like when you're dating someone or you're like you get to know someone, you think, wow, she's an amazing girl. How is she single? Do you ever think about why people are single? Sometimes I'm like, he's really sweet, but why is he single? That scares me. What's he done? Is he a weirdo? Do you ever think about that?
I mean, wouldn't you ask me that? Why are you single?
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying.
But me being single has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a weirdo or that
No,
I don't know
but
what
I'm
doing.
saying, I was talking to my friend about it and she was like, I really like this guy, but he's single and it's scaring me. And I'm thinking,
but why
clearly,
do women think men are single?
What do you mean?
Why do women think that?
Well, he said he was single.
Yeah. So what? But I'm saying, what reason would there be
For what?
for men to be single?
I don't know, but she's just a bit.
Because they can't be nice to women. Because as soon as we're nice to women, nobody wants to date us.
But that's what I'm saying. So that's why guys now are arseholes or like to play the game because, like you were saying, you're not an arsehole, but the way that you like to play, like you know how to play the game, because.
Well, I had to learn.
Females are attracted to that.
Yeah.
Because
I had to learn it the hard way.
People don't like, when people are in relationships with people don't like it to be a routine. They don't like the routine of it. They like to just...
But see, that's what the issue is. The issue is that women put it all on men. As if like we're the only people in charge of this relationship. But it is what you just said. You don't want it to be boring, but okay, well, do something about it.
Well, yeah, I will.
What do you mean I will? You don't. Not only you, none of the women do. They expect a guy to be handling the interestingness of the relationship.
No, I like to take control as well. I'm a very spontaneous person. When I'm in a relationship, I'll do stuff. I'll plan spontaneous things.
The relationship would never become boring if you were in charge of it.
But I'm just saying there's lots of relationships that become boring because females expect too much, and so do men.
Of course, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
But I think if the person desires something, and that's what it is. I think it's mostly lack of communication than it is anything else.
100%.
Because if you said to me, "Hey,
100%,
baby, I think our relationship has become like hit a
boring.
Plateau.
Yeah, we just need to make it a bit more exciting.
We just need to like make shit happen. So there's that passion, because that passion is the key.
Yeah.
You have
That's
to
what keeps it going.
If the passion you had in the beginning
is not there,
you continue to keep up until the end, there will never be an end.
I mean, I look at my grandparents. They met when they were 14. They've been together ever since. It's crazy. I think about them, but that's just a different generation.
Well, it's a combination of things, but yeah. I mean, who are they going to leave each other for now?
Lovely. How lovely. I mean, what do you mean?
Who are they going to leave each other for?
I don't know. But they still, every day, they tell each other they love each other, and they dance every day to their wedding song.
It should be like that.
But that's what I'm saying.
How it should be. See, they won the lottery.
Wait. God, I'm going to pray to God so that I get my dream husband. Please, God, let me get the one.
One of these days.
Who knows?
Alrighty. It's been lovely.
It's been amazing.
Thank you so much for being on the show. You've been great.
Thank you for having me. You've been awesome.
Well, I'll have you again soon.
I'm down.
We'll have another conversation about so many things we could talk about.
There's so much, isn't there? This world is crazy.
Oh, man. Alrighty. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Your support means the world, so please go like, subscribe, and share. And as always, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and we'll see you on the next episode of Unattainable.
Bye.